exploitation, abuse, and violence. That seems to be a lot to unpack. So it might sound cliche, but for the purpose of those listening to us, let's go through this one after the other. What's sexual exploitation? What's abuse? What's violence? Is there a difference, or are they just put some lot together to mean one thing?
Well, they are similar. They are not the same. They don't mean the same thing, but they are similar.
Okay.
You know, when a man or a woman, you know, touches a child, whether a boy or a girl, inappropriately, in areas that are seen or that are considered private, you know, places like the breasts, the buttocks area.
Is that for the females?
Yes, for the females, even for the guy, for the male too.
Okay.
Genital area, you know, when a man or a woman touches a boy or a girl inappropriately in those areas, that's sexual abuse or sexual exploitation. So in layman terms, that is what it means.
Okay, so this is not just about penetration. So the moment we are having touches that are not appropriate in private parts, sensitive areas for male children, female children, that's considered sexual abuse.
And then there is rape. You know, there is rape when a man or a woman forcefully has sex or sexual intercourse with a child, with a boy or a girl. As in this case now, there is it's not, when we say penetration, you think about a man and a girl child, you understand? But women too, a woman can rape. A woman can rape a boy. So when you have a man or a woman having sexual intercourse forcefully with a boy or a girl, it is rape. And that's sexual abuse too. It's sexual exploitation.
Okay. Now, when we talk about sexual exploitation, does that also include trafficking of children for sexual purposes?
Yes, it is part of it. Definitely, it's part of it.
Okay. So, and the violence aspect of the whole thing, how does that tie in?
See, violence. When we say violence, what comes to people's mind is, okay, maybe you are now slapping the person or you are, you know, batching the person. But when you put a person in a position of danger, that is violence. You know, when you forcefully exploit a minor, a child, a boy or a girl, you are putting that person in a position of danger. Even if you are not slapping or batching the person, you know, you are putting the person in a danger of health issues. You know, you don't know the health status of the person, you know, that is having this forceful sexual relations with this person. So by the time this person now transmits something to this boy or girl, even though the person has not hit him or her, the person has put the child in a position of danger, and that is violence.
Okay, so when we look at all this, we have to think of the statistics that says that majority of women children who are abused by people they know, people who are close home, uncles, aunties, you know, so, people you wouldn't consider strangers. So when you look at that reality and we talk about violence and abuse, you want to consider, because, okay, let me put it this way. You have an uncle. Definitely, it's a very rare occurrence for you to have the uncle want to, be violent, so that it will not be noticed. Because once violence comes in, usually something changes. So you can see physical signs and all that. So in the case where we're talking about people who are close home, how do I put this? Okay, let's link this to priming. People talk about the fact that those who actually abuse children are close home, and because they are close home, they have this way of preparing the mind of the child, you know, for abuse. The child is quite innocent, may not even know what is happening, but priming is a major instrument or tool they use to actually achieve their aim. So how exactly are parents supposed to guard against this?
Okay, so, this is an issue that I'm passionate about, because I was a victim. I was a victim. It started when I was really young, maybe primary 3, maybe 6 or 7 years old. And the people that were violating me were people, like you said, that were close. People that you wouldn't expect such from. I'm talking about my cousin, where we were living in the same house, talking about my Sunday school teacher, people in position of trust, talking about my school teacher, So usually these people are people that are close, that they are in a position of trust. They are people that you wouldn't even think they could do such. And that is what they take advantage of, So that is the reason. We are creating awareness. Up until now, they have taken advantage of the fact that they are trusted people. They are people that you can never suspect. They use this and they perpetrate those evil. So that is where the importance of creating awareness comes in. Awareness, education. So when you create awareness, it's not just the child, even for the parents. Like my parents now, when my cousin was violating, my elderly cousin was violating me, my room was almost adjacent to theirs. They were sleeping, that's close. They were sleeping in their room, and then they wouldn't know that their child, their girl child is, being violated just a few meters away from them, So they did not know. But now that we know that it can happen, then we need to create awareness about this. By the time we start making noise about it, parents know that, see, it can happen anywhere. Anybody can do it, So they are more vigilant. They are more alert. So that is...
would that be the only solution? Okay,
Okay. What early signs or behavioral pattern or changes can indicate that a child has been abused or exploited?
The sad thing is that you may not even know. I was exploited. My parents didn't know. I didn't talk about it until I was in my 40s, and it is the same thing for a lot of people. When we go to schools, we created a platform. We call it No More Stigma Initiative. We go to secondary schools to talk to these children. When you see these children, many a time, they are normal. They talk normally, nobody sees it. So most times you don't even see the signs. And then when we go to these schools, after sensitizing them, we create room for an interactive session. Come and hear what these children talk about, the things that they have gone through, the experiences that they have had, But when you see them, they look okay. But when it shows, and it may not be physical, where it shows is in the choices they make in life, the decisions they make in life. Many a time they are harmful ones, So, but when you talk about physically, and most times it is the physical that you see that, what is wrong with this child? But many a time it does not even show. But then the person is damaged psychologically, emotionally, and because the person is damaged in those areas that do not show, they make decisions that are harmful to them, So most times you don't see it physically.
Okay. When I think about all this, I'm considering we don't see the signs. And very much down the line, that's when you talk about the decisions they make, because they will have been grown. By the time we're talking about the decisions they make in terms of career, the choice of partners and all that. Now, if those children are quiet and they don't speak out, whose fault is that?
Okay, so it's the fault of the society, it's the fault of the parents, And when you talk a lot about our first-hand experiences that we have had, you discover that, in the questions that these children asked, you discover that a lot of times the parents were aware. Let's take the case of a trending case now, the case of Ochanya or Banji. The guardian was aware, the woman of the house was aware, because many times they choose to protect, which is a shortcoming of our society, Because in our society, most time it is the victim that is stigmatized. When a person is raped or sexually exploited, it is the victim that they start looking at as an maybe, they do it in such a way that the victim starts feeling guilty, as if he or she has done something wrong.
So it's the attitude of the parents that makes them feel that way.
The attitude of the parents, the attitude of the society. Let me give you an example. In my mom's organization, they were given a quarters. Our company gave them a quarters that they were living in, and then they had gardeners. So one gardener was violating the children. When I say children, 5, 7, 9, those were the ages of those girls, the children of his fellow gardener. I know one of the encounters, the brother of those girls caught the gardener having sexual relationship with one of the sisters, and he reported to the mom. Do you know what the mom said? The mom said, "You have to keep it. Your father must not hear. You don't let your father hear." And this guy kept doing it until an outsider, caught them, and the guy was brought to book. So, parents, a lot of parents, they know, they are aware. But because of the stigmatization of the society, it is a shortcoming of the society. They don't want anybody to know that this child has been a victim. They don't report to the appropriate quarters. They don't want anybody to know, because the way the society will consider them, they may be looking at them and they are even spoiled. The reason it's happening to them, it is because they have dressed in a certain way, or they have gone to where they are not supposed to. They are not addressing the issue. So most times, because of this, the perpetrators, they escape. They go scot-free. So it is important. That's why it is important that when such cases are brought to book, not only the perpetrators now, the parents that are aware and do nothing about it, they have, to be brought to book too. They have to be brought to book. By the time we start holding parents accountable, then it is possible that they will be more, vigilant. The reporting and responses has to be mandated. You understand? Many parents that keep quiet, or many people many guardians that keep quiet, they have to be brought to book. When I'm saying brought to book, they have to be treated as criminals too, because it is criminal to know a child is being exploited, and you choose to keep quiet. It may result. It results in a lot of different things. In the case of Ochana, it resulted in her death. So that is criminal. So we have to start bringing adults, parents, guardians that are aware. Number one, even if they are not aware, why would you not be aware? You understand? You have to be. It is not an excuse that something is happening around you and you are not aware. That is negligence. They have to be brought to book. Maybe when they are brought to book, they'll be more careful.
Okay, when you talk to parents sometimes, the parents who have had their children molested, one of the things they complain about is the fact that when these things happen and they have to seek the help of law enforcement agents, the kind of questions they get asked does not give any sense of consideration for the plight of the child and the situation the parents might be in. So oftentimes, like they are just making light of the situation. So if this is the response they get from law enforcement agents, can we actually blame them for being reticent or and not wanting to report when those cases occur?
That is where policy making, the role of policy making comes in. Policy making, it establishes what constitutes, what defines that offense, and then the things that need to be done, everything concerning a particular matter. And one of it is strengthening, the capacity of institutions. Many a time, certain individuals, they are made to be more powerful than institutions. Regulatory institutions that are supposed to be putting in place guiding principles, that protect the children. As long as many times, as long as you have money, you know, some people, they are seen as above the law. You know, so by the time you make, you put regulations or policies in place, you know, that will strengthen the capacity of these regulatory bodies. It will help in the protection of children. You know, it will help. Institutions, social welfare institutions, you know, all those that are related, they have to be strengthened by policies that are put in place. You know, so to make the bring it to book of all these criminals, to make it easier and faster. Look at the case. I like talking, you know, you said evidence-based, so I like talking with evidence,
yeah.
You know, look at the case of, I'm going to refer to the case of Ochanya Ogbanji, you know. It was brought to the knowledge of the society. The appropriate, you know, were involved, the police were involved, the courts were involved. You know, but in our case, the court set free the perpetrator. The same case, another court, you know, held the wife. It's only the wife that committed, but held the wife accountable for negligence. If there was going to be negligence, it meant something happened. But another court has said that something did not happen. The court acquitted the perpetrator. Do you understand? So these are supposed to be, you know, bodies that will bring to book this, you know, this kind of thing.
But then can we blame the bodies? Sometimes when these things happen, these bodies say, for example, they don't have concrete evidence. Maybe immediately the whole thing happened to cover the shame, what they consider shame and all that. They have the girl, if it's a girl, bathed. So the evidence of the whole thing is tampered with. So as a result, it's difficult for the court to establish that actually a rape or molestation took place. So, and sometimes the policeman will tell you that they've had cases where they try to, you know, they just go with the victim, only to discover later that it was actually a lie. So sometimes when they ask questions that sound insensitive, they're also asking those questions because of the experience they've had, handling cases in the past. So how do we balance this?
See, we are talking about children here. We are talking about children. Most times the greatest injustice to these children, to these victims, is that they don't get believed when they speak out. Number one, they are always afraid to speak out. And when they summon up the courage to speak out, they are not believed. They are not believed. You know? So that I think is even the greatest injustice. When it's, in the case of Ochanya Ogbanji, they had the testimony of the girl. Not just the testimony of the girl, there was confirmation by the hospital that this girl was suffering from the results of, you know, years of exploitation. So what evidence was needed more for the perpetrator to be convicted? What evidence? But then the guy was set free. He was walking free. And until years later that this case is coming up, the guy has been walking free. The son is somewhere, you know, going on with his career, music career. Do you understand? That is just an example. And it's an example of what happens in many of these cases. They don't get believed. Many times, the parents or the guardian, they live in denial. Deep inside, they know the truth. Because the truth is, you know, is something that they don't want to handle. They choose not to believe these children.
Is it because they are afraid society would blame them?
That is the shortcoming of the society. And that is why we are going around. You cannot be stigmatizing victims while perpetrators, you know, are walking around free. It's the shortcoming of the society. People are afraid to talk because they don't want to be stigmatized. The parents even they don't want the matter to come to light. It is because it's still the fear of the stigmatization. In another society, they feel like, okay, when people know that this person has been sexually molested or raped, the person may be a girl now, may find difficult to find the husband. You know, so it's basically is a failing of the society and the failing of parents or guidance, people that should be responsible for these children first and foremost.
Okay, so how can agencies collaborate? Like, since there's a misconception in the society that makes it difficult for these children to speak up, and when they speak up, they are not believed. So how can agencies or government collaborate to better protect these victims during investigation?
It still comes to what we are saying, policy making. You know, you should put policy in place, and not just putting policy in place, enforce those principles, those guiding principles. They have to be enforced. You know, they have to be enforced. And you know, thank God that we are in the era of social media. You know, the onus lies on everybody. It's not even government now. Lies on everybody. In the case of Ochaya, the court had said the person free, but people refused. You know, it came up again. Everybody's shouting, it is trending. See, justice for Ochaya. So the onus is on the responsibility. Sorry, my law was like
society.
Yes, that's fine. The responsibility is on every one of us. Nobody should turn away. As once you know, nobody should turn away. You know, in going to schools, there was a particular school we went to, 61 pupils or children, secondary school students. They asked questions. I got 61 questions. And you need to see those questions. Some, the father, you know, that speaks to what he was asking, you know, was talking about relatives, people that were not. These fathers, and because these are fathers, the mothers now, you know, they like cover and cover. Do you get? So once you know, once anybody knows anything, you can't keep quiet. The regulatory bodies, the enforcing agents have to be made to do the proper thing by not keeping quiet. So thank God for social media now. So it is everybody, the government, the regulatory bodies. You know, maybe it's even this one that we are talking about policy making. The policies are there. The policies are already made. It is the enforcement now.
I guess that's the reason we're talking about strengthening the protection.
Yes, strengthening the capacity of the institutions. You know, so it is the enforcement. It's the enforcement. One popular actor, he just got released. He was convicted and sentenced to prison for sexual exploitation. You know, and then I was just, you know, I was I was going through something, and then I saw this guy that just got released. You know, he put on one big gold chain, and he was dancing on TikTok, and you know, was dancing and saying that some people, they hated him and they sent him. You know, such a thing should not happen. You understand? There are steps, you know, that people would, and you see people liking, you know, liking whatever he was doing, and you know, so those are ways that we enable this kind of thing. You know, that's why I keep saying that. You see, you don't have to be the one that will like exploit. You understand? But there are ways that will enable them. You know, when somebody that has been sentenced and he has completed the jail term for sexual exploitation has the boldness to come on social media to be dancing and saying some people hate him. You know, what I expected was that the way people will shut him down, you understand, he will run away, he will never make a video like that again. But people won't do it. That's why I'm saying that, see, it is on every one of us. We cannot afford to keep quiet. We are doing advocacy, you know, going from one place to the other, you know. But how many places can we reach? You understand?
Well, the big question is, I mean, when you look at the response of the society to rape cases, okay, like if something is not unusual to hear when you're talking about grown people would say, is it possible? Can a man rape his wife? Okay, you know, it seems and once a child is even grown, let's say between 15 to 18, people say, he's already grown now. What are you talking about? Rape? You know, so what's wrong with the ideology or the perception of rape in society? Because it seems some people don't believe that, I mean, don't understand what rape is. They just kind of sum it up. It's like they put it on the same pedestal as consensual sex.
You know, from the definition of rape, said when you forcefully have sexual intercourse. When it is forceful, then it means that there was no consent. And anything that there wasn't any consent, you understand, is criminal. So even between adults, if the woman or the man has said no, and you went ahead and forcefully had carnal knowledge of that person. So let's take it from the definition, forcefully. You understand? It is forceful. When it's forceful, it is without consent.
Now the point is, on paper, we know that is what it is.
Yes.
But it seems that hasn't sinked into the psyche of the average person in Nigeria.
So that is the place of awareness and then enforcement. You know, when you are making people, even when you are creating awareness for this true sensitization, the people, they were even thinking that it is normal for my husband to when I say no, the person like, I paid your bride price, and then you don't slap me, and then have carnal knowledge of me. That by the time a woman starts knowing that, see, you are not supposed to allow it, that is rape. When that happens to you, it is rape.
But usually society does not empower women to speak out in the particular situation.
That's where awareness is coming in. Education. People needs to be, has to be a reorientation. You know, it is important. It is important that we do that. Whereas where there are a lot of people, things that people don't know are their rights. Do you understand? So by the time you are, and you can see that even now it's not as bad as it was. You know.
So you're saying cases are dropping?
Yes.
Okay.
People are coming to the knowledge of their rights.
Okay.
Yes.
Not that we are having less sexual exploitation cases.
Yes. So because people are coming to the knowledge of their rights, they are speaking out more.
Okay.
You know, because I told you what happened to me years ago. I couldn't speak up until I was in my 40s, because now I feel confident. You know, because it comes from a place of knowledge. That, see, when I speak out, I'm not the guilty one. So because I'm not the guilty one, I should be able to speak out. You know, I told her about, I could not. I when I go to talk, I talk about one of my friends. You know, she's in the UK. You know, when we started talking, she called me and she told me that it happened to her when she was like 7 years old.
Wow.
And it was her uncle, her dad's younger brother. The same father, the same mother. It was her uncle. I know what this lady said. She said she was going to come to Nigeria and she was going to arrest that uncle. Do you get? So she's not leaving it as just speaking out. What happened? Because she has seen that people are speaking out. And she's not leaving it at that. She's going further and being like, you know, that man that I'm going to bring him to book.
Wow. Okay, we're going to pause right here to go for the news of the hour. When we return, this conversation continues. Stay tuned. It's still Breakfast Fiesta.
You get change. I won't give customer.
I don't get to. Get First Money Merchant POS. Let customers pay with cards and never miss a sale. Don't let no change cost you sales. With First Money Merchant POS, enjoy fast payments, instant settlement, and secure transactions. Visit any First Bank branch or sign up on www.firstbanknigeria.com/get your POS to get yours today. First Bank, you first.
The time is 11 o'clock.
The news.
Good morning. Here is the news on the hour on Oluyole 98.5 FM, Ibadan. The Nigerian Education Loan Fund, NEL Fund, has disbursed 116 billion naira to cover institutional fees and upkeep allowances for students across the country. The managing director of the fund, Akintunde Sawyer, who revealed this during an interview in Abuja, reiterated the federal government's commitment to affordable and inclusive tertiary education. Sawyer said NEL Fund paid 65 billion naira directly to 239 government government-owned institutions, including universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education, for approved loan applicants. He noted that an additional 51 billion naira was disbursed as monthly upkeep allowances to the beneficiaries. He added that the education loan scheme was one of the social investment initiatives of the President Tinubu administration to remove financial barriers for students in tertiary institutions. The Federal High Court, FHC, will commence its Christmas vacation December 19, 2025. The FHC's Director of Information, Dr. Catherine Christopher, in a statement today in Abuja, said court sittings would resume in all judicial divisions on January 7, 2026. She also said that during the vacation, the core judicial divisions, Abuja, Lagos, and Port Harcourt, would remain operational and accessible to the litigating public. That's news on the hour. Thanks for listening. The Yoruba version of the news is next. Please stay tuned.
ẹ kú ìyálẹ̀ta ìròyìn ní ṣókí. Àjọ tó ń ṣètò owó ìrànwọ́ fétò ẹ̀kọ́ nelfund ti pín owó bílíọ̀nù 16 náírà láti fi gbọ́ bùkátà àwọn akẹ́kọ̀ọ́ yíká ilẹ̀ yìí. Olùdarí àjọ náà Akíntúndé Sọ́yà jòdì mímọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lásìkò ìfọ̀rọ̀wérọ̀ nílùú Àbújá. Ó tẹnumọ́ ìfaranijìn ìjọba àpapọ̀ fún ètò ẹ̀kọ́ tó pójú owó fún àwọn akẹ́kọ̀ọ́ ilé ẹ̀kọ́ gíga lórílẹ̀‐èdè Nàìjíríà. Sọ́yà ní àjọ nelfund san bílíọ̀nù 75 náírà sí àsùnwọ̀n àwọn ilé ẹ̀kọ́ gíga 200 tó jẹ́ ti ìjọba àpapọ̀. Lára wọn láti rí àwọn ilé ẹ̀kọ́ gíga fásitì, ilé ẹ̀kọ́ poli àtàwọn ilé ẹ̀kọ́ olùkọ́ni àgbà fún àwọn tó ti forúkọ sílẹ̀. Ó tẹnumọ́ pé wọ́n tó pín àfikún bílíọ̀nù 51 náírà fún àwọn ilé ẹ̀kọ́ gíga. Ó fi kún pé owó ìrànwọ́ náà jẹ́ ara ojú inú ìrètí ìsọdọ̀tun Ààrẹ Bọ́lá Tinubu. Ilé-ẹjọ́ gíga ìjọba àpapọ̀ yóò bẹ̀rẹ̀ ìsinmi kérésì lọ́jọ́ 19 oṣù kejìlá ọdún yìí. Nínú àtẹ̀jáde tí olùdarí fétò ìròyìn ilé-ẹjọ́ gíga náà Mọ̀wé Catherine Christopher fi síta lónìí nílùú Àbújá sọ pé ìjókòó yóò bẹ̀rẹ̀ padà lọ́jọ́ 7 oṣù kìíní ọdún 2026. Ó ṣàlàyé pé lásìkò ìsinmi náà ilé-ẹjọ́ ìpínlẹ̀ Èkó àti ti Port Harcourt yóò máa bá iṣẹ́ lọ. Ìròyìn ní ṣókí fún tàsìkò yìí kò ní jù bá ilẹ̀ kó kalẹ̀.
Àmì òjèjì rédíò tí ó láfiwé Oluyole FM àwa ni bàbá.
The city of Ibadan, the home of ancient warlords, in the Pacesetter state, this is Oluyole FM 98.5 Ibadan.
Unstoppable, unbeatable, untouchable. The station that does it better. Oluyole FM 98.5 Ibadan.
Welcome back. It's still Breakfast Fiesta right here on Oluyole 98.5 FM. 7 minutes gone past 11, and we're discussing here child sexual exploitation, abuse, and violence. Of course, with particular emphasis on evidence-based policy making. Now, we've said a whole lot. Well, we still have our guest here, I should say, Mrs. Kemi Oshinyemi Cole, a child rights advocate. Now, we've talked about the situation children find themselves in, how the people who abuse them are usually those who are close home, those they know. And we've also talked about the response, the reasons children don't feel comfortable talking about abuse. We've talked about how the society's role and the experiences when it comes to reporting. Now, in Nigeria, even though you say that more people are talking about their experiences, we still know that there is still a lot of people who are not coming out to talk about their situation. So if we're supposed to strengthen protection based on data, how can we say in Nigeria we have enough data to make effective policies?
Thank you. Yes, I think we have enough data, especially now, that is the time of social media. When we were younger, there wasn't social media, so we didn't have people, we didn't know that people were talking. But now that there is social media, we have come to that people are talking. But then, how the data that we have, what have we done with them? When more people are seeing that the people that are coming out and are talking, something is being done about their cases, it encourages other people to come out. I'll give you an example. Up until now, at least the ones that I've seen personally, 2 military officers, women, they have come out to say they are being frustrated, because they refused to sleep with senior officers. And then when these women came out to talk, what happened to them? They were considered, they said that they were mentally not okay, and then they were put in psychiatric hospitals. You understand? Nothing was done. At the end of the day, it is these women that came out, that were being victimized, that were being, punished, being put in guard rooms, being locked up. So when you have seen how you have treated the ones that came out to speak, how can more people come out? Let me say now, more military women that are being frustrated, or that are being victimized, or being sexually exploited. What encouragement will they have to come out to speak, seeing how the ones that came out to speak have been treated?
Compounding that matter is also those who are women who in the time past, or even in the present time, continue to use allegations of rape as a means to getting what they want. You can't shy away from the fact that that also compromises, the fight. Because somewhat, the person who really has a good intention and truly wants these cases to be prosecuted the right way would also think, okay, is it also possible that this may not be true? And once you have that thought in your mind, you are in a way affected. So what can we do about that?
Buttressing what you just said, I remember the case of, is it Neymar?
Neymar?
Was it Neymar? Yes, that footballer.
Okay, yeah, Neymar.
He and the lady had consensual sex, and then this lady came out to say that she was raped. But what saved Neymar was that he had different evidences, of their relationship. So what that shows is that some people can actually, some men or some women can actually come out to say that because they want to be vindictive, they want to be malicious against a particular person. So I accept the fact that there are cases like that. But then that is where investigation comes in. That is why there is investigation. What is investigation? Gathering facts to know what went down, what happened. You understand? So for each of the cases, nobody is going to talk or prosecute or do anything based on the words of anybody. It's got to be with evidence, And where does the proof come from? Or the proofs, where do they come from? From investigating. So for each of the case, or for each of the cases, there has to be, proper investigation, and then conclusion based on this investigation, and then prosecution. So that is not just coming out to say anything. There has to be investigation.
Okay, I'm sure you've heard about this term, helicopter parenting. Such that it's like 247, the parent is hovering over the child. Okay, and it gets so out of hand to the point whereby anyone who comes within, the sphere of influence of their daughter or son automatically becomes a suspect. It's like, okay, what are you doing there? Why are you with him? So it's like, okay, we ask this parent, they say, we're trying to protect our children. Is that an effective approach?
Okay, so if everybody could see me now, you could see me smiling.
Yeah, sure.
Because is it that I may be guilty of this helicopter parenting? And it came from a place of experience, the experience that I have had. I talked about my parents sleeping a few feet away.
Yeah.
And my cousin that lived in my house sneaking into my room, to sexually molest me. And they were not aware, and I could not talk, so it kept happening, So when you consider the fact that it could happen with anybody, and it could happen anywhere. When it happened with my Sunday school teacher, it was in the afternoon. We are closed from the children's church, and I was on my way. In my church, there was the adult church, there was the children's church. So we closed earlier. And they were not in the same place. So when we closed, we walked to our adults, to our parents' church to meet them. And it was when we closed from the children's church, it was on my way to go to my parents, that my Sunday school teacher that I trusted, told me that, where was I was going to meet my parents, and he said, okay, that he was going to take me there, which was strange to me because that wasn't the first time I was, so he didn't need to take me there. But this was an adult that I knew. So in my mind, it couldn't be wrong. He just wanted to help. And in the course of helping in quotes now, we now went, through a block of classrooms, because it was a Sunday. Of course, there was nobody there. It was the Saturday, and then he brought out his manhood and said I should be robbing. That was in the afternoon, and that was my Sunday school teacher. You understand? So when you consider the fact that you wouldn't know, it could happen anywhere, it could happen with anybody, it could happen at any time, I think it is better to err on the part of being overprotective than not being protective enough and having things happen.
But then when we have to also consider the emotional impact that could have on people who are well-meaning. For example, this is a person who has no history of child sexual abuse and quite genuinely is concerned and loves children, and the person is just being innocently free with the children. And suddenly mommy says or daddy says, what are you doing there? Come over here. I don't want my kids. I don't play with my kids anymore. It's like we injure the emotion of these people as well. So is there a way we can be vigilant while still making sure that we put into consideration well-meaning people's intention towards our kids?
Okay, so now for people, I don't think any person that is not mad, will see that maybe you are not close to the child and they will be like that. But some people, they are over familiar. Okay. They don't keep boundaries. You understand? You feel like, okay, because this is a child, and then you can just pick the child up and throw him or her up and hug the person. You may not have any bad intention, but it is wrong. It is wrong. It can be. There is a way you can be with someone else's child that the parents, will feel comfortable. So when you see people acting like that, it could be like the way you are with the child or with the children, the person is not comfortable. You understand? So we should put ourselves, we should guard ourselves. We should exercise restraint enough to, not to make parents feel uncomfortable about us being close to their children.
Okay.
I think.
So, beyond justice, awareness, we have healing, and we know healing is a journey. And we see victims of abuse experience physical, mental illnesses or emotional illnesses, and sometimes lifelong consequences. So how will you know during the healing process what does okay let me rephrase, how does healing process look like in a child?
Okay, so for the first step, you understand, the beginning of the healing process is speaking out. That is the beginning, because it is when you speak out that one will know that something is amiss, and then one can take steps to help. So the first step in the journey of healing is speaking out. And then when these people speak out, it is important. It takes a lot to speak out. It is important for the right response. The first thing to speaking out is the response. It is important that the response is right, because if you miss out on the response, if the response is not appropriate, you understand, that might make the person withdraw back into his or her shell. Do you understand? So after the person speaks out, the response to that speaking out has to be right. You have to believe the person. Even if the person is not, you feel like the person is not saying the truth, that will come out in the place of investigation. But the first thing, the most important thing, is that when a child comes to you or speaks out about a molestation or a rape, believe that child. Believe that child, and then you now take steps. There are professional. There's a level that the damage has gotten to that not any person can heal. You understand? It has to be a professional. Because the way a professional has been trained in a way to respond appropriately to a matter. So the way I will respond as a non-expert is going to be different from the way he or she will respond as an expert. So there is in the period of investigating, there is the knowledge you will have about the extent of damage to that child that will make you know that it is beyond. It may be not bad. You understand? It may be that it is not so bad that a parent can handle it. I can talk to the child, and then I can take more care, concerning that child. But then there is a level it has gotten to, that's which will come to light during investigation. That you will know that this my child or this person needs professional help. Okay. And when a person needs professional help, get him or her professional help.
All right. Let's bring in the public now. So if you're at home listening to us and you would like to comment on this conversation, child sexual exploitation, abuse and violence, call the studio line 0805 500 9850, 0805 500 9850. There are those who believe that what's the most important thing when you're talking about healing, the healing process, is trust between the person who is the healer, in quote, and the person who is the patient. So sometimes when we will tell you that they don't want to go to a counselor because they think this is a person I don't know. So why should I be talking to a person I don't know about something that personal? They prefer to talk to someone they trust, someone they know, and someone they feel loves them and has compassion and concern for them. So is going to a counselor always the right approach?
Yes, it is the right approach, and I'll tell you why. In the course of training for the counselor, he or she must have been trained on how to evoke trust in a patient. How to evoke trust in a patient seeking help. That should have been part of the training. When I go to schools, when I go to talk, I'm not a professional. I'm just a concerned individual, So, but I'm not a professional. But when I go to talk in schools, there are things that I will say that will make children that have never seen me, known me, you understand, feel like, okay, I can ask this person a question that I've not been able to ask people I've been close to. In fact, in most cases, when it comes to sexual exploitation and rape, they prefer to talk to people that they do not know. They are shy to talk to. You know them, you see them. You see them always. So they are shy to talk. But they prefer to talk to people because they feel like, okay, this person, I don't see the person always, you understand, so I can. So it is the responsibility is on whoever, is offering help to make the person that needs help to trust him or her. And it's in the words that he say, it's in your conduct, it's in everything. I wouldn't know, I can't say much about that because I'm not a professional, but I know that it should be part of the training that the person seeking help has to trust you, because it is when the person trusts you that the person will come to you for help, or the person will talk to you so that you'll be able to offer the help. They take doctors as examples. Are they close to every patient that comes to them?
Of course not.
They are not close to every patient that comes to them. But there is a part of their training is that you should make a patient trust you.
Gain the trust of the patient.
Yes. So it has to be part of their training.
Okay. All right. So now, when we look at this situation, sometimes it pays to also consider the fact that our sort of society is one in which people are close-knit. Okay, and even if we talk about current happenings, making us go away from the particular norm, but these days when things like that happen, it's still one way or the other gets out. People within the society gets to know. Now, what can we do about stigmatization? Because sometimes people want to help, but they don't even know how to, for fear of how the people involved would respond to them offering help or support. Okay, because sometimes people who are involved, who have been sexually molested, don't know how to even react. Some just go, they just lock up. They are closed off. So if those who want to offer support, what would be your advice to them?
Okay. They want to offer support.
Yes, they want to support the victim, but they don't know how to, because they are afraid, what if the person rebuffs me? What if the person does not want anything to do with me, or does not even want my help? So some people don't know how to respond to someone who's a victim of child molestation, sexual molestation, exploitation, or molestation.
Are you saying if a victim has come to one, or generally on social media?
Okay. Let's make it. Let's make it hypothetical. You have a friend who has been sexually abused. Okay. Now the person did not tell you. One way or the other, you got to know maybe through another friend, and you want to sympathize, you want to empathize, you want to help or support, but you don't know how to do that. So what tips would you give someone in that particular shoe on how to support someone who has been sexually molested?
Okay, so if you've come to the knowledge of the fact that somebody has been sexually molested or raped, and you don't know how to respond to the person, then go speak with somebody that knows how to respond to the person. Go speak with somebody that knows how to respond to the person. Let me give you an example. I told you we go to schools, and so from there, when we go to schools, I leave my number. I told you many of these the children, they prefer to talk to outsiders than the people that they know. Most times the people that they know is that they mock them, or they want to suppress them or suppress it, and don't let it come to if people know, you won't find a husband, so they prefer to talk to outsiders. So one of the schools that we went to, a child called me. So normally we leave our number, how you could reach us on. So that child called me and told me the child was in JSS 2. The child was in JSS 3. The person, she was not the one that was molested, but it was her friend, and she knew, but the friend was too shy to talk to me. So she took the initiative and spoke with me that her friend, this is what is happening to her, but she cannot, she's too shy to talk to me. That's why, this one is bolder. So she called me and she talked with me. And we talked about how I could see that friend, and then I went to the appropriate authority to get authority to talk to the person who has been molested. So if you have the knowledge and you don't know how to respond, then talk to someone who knows how to respond.
Okay. Now give us your part in short. Time is already running out.
Okay, like I always say, speak out. Speak out, speak out, speak out. Don't ever. Speaking out, I'm not talking about just the victims, but see, if you come to the knowledge of it, the responsibility is not just on government, it's not just on the regulatory bodies, it's on every person. So by the time that sinks in, and you know that you have a responsibility towards the child, you know, to prevent that child from being, you know, sexually molested or damaged, then you will know that at every point you have to be your brother's keeper. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Kemi Oshiemi Cole, for coming on the show and for lending your voice to this topic. Really appreciate you as always. She is a child rights advocate, of course, and also an author, playwright, entrepreneur, and of course she is the founder of a number of NGOs for working to help youths and of course aged people as well. Well, thank you once again. Of course, it's been Breakfast Fiesta, Oluyole 90.5 FM, and I remain Ido Shekuni. Whatever it is you do, make sure that you lend your voice to this conversation. Is a child molested where you are? Is there sexual exploitation, abuse, or violence done to a child? Speak out. Speak in defense of children, and let's together create a safe world and atmosphere for them to thrive. Until next time, of course, Jamila will be back next week. I say, have yourself a wonderful day ahead.
And remember, protecting children is everybody's responsibility. I am Happiness Bentham.
Bye-bye.
Unstoppable, unbeatable, untouchable. The station that does it better. Oluyole FM 98.5 Ibadan.
ti pọ̀ nbo ni wọ́n yìí sí báyìí.
Oluyole FM ní gbogbo ìlú ń gbọ́ orí àwọn eléré wọn náà ni wọ́n ń bọ̀.
ọmọdé ìlú o àgbààgbà ìlú o Oluyole ni ẹ máa gbọ́. bó jẹ́ torin àwa la lórin bó jẹ́ tìròyìn elétí ọ̀fẹ́ òtẹ́tì àwa la mọ ohun tí ẹ̀ ń fẹ́. ètò àtàtà lóríṣiríṣi àwa la lè dé lẹ́kùpẹ́gbà olókojò bàbá ni. 98.5 o ó là ní lọ́yẹ̀sẹ̀ o òun ṣàní ẹ máa gbọ́.
ẹ ṣeun igi pọ̀ ní gbọ́ká tó fi gé ọmọ gbẹ̀gbẹ̀ dùn ìròyìn àsìkò tó kún rẹ́rẹ́ eré ìdárayá kálá nílọ́yẹ̀ lásìkò ọ̀rọ̀ òṣèlú orin àgbọ̀dúnú ètò lóríṣiríṣi Oluyole FM lọ̀gá gbogbo mú tún mú wá.
ọmọdé